quick, I want to ask you about the state of boxing and how it's changed. Right now we have, because I want to talk about this before we wrap up.
Yeah.
The state of boxing, we have great fighters like Inoue, right?
Yeah.
Stephen Fulton,
Yeah.
my good friend, amazing person, Stephen. A great story with Wahid. Raheem. We have also now, we talked about Canelo Alvarez, but we also have celebrity boxing coming in now with Logan Paul and etc. Logan Paul, Jake Paul. Is boxing changing? Is that helping the sport, the celebrity boxing? Tell me your breakdown, your analysis, and your opinion.
This is going to shock some folks because I hate to admit this, and it's creeping up as I'm getting older. There's a little bit of that get off my old man mentality here. But I'm going to maybe shock a few people. I'm actually in favor of what Jake Paul's doing, and the reason why I say that is you have to get as many people involved, as many young people involved as they can. You look at the demographic that follows the sport right now. They are old dudes. I'm in my 50s. There are old guys that follow this sport. I know very few, and I know younger people. Very few of them under the age of 30 who even know who the heavyweight champion of the world is right now. I mean,
they're all in MMA.
Yeah, Matt. And I see. And here's the kicker too: is boxers get paid more. They get paid more than what we see in UFC in the MMA world. But boxing has had a habit of this dysfunction. It has a habit of that there's biases there. Where UFC is one league. All those guys got to fight each other. If they don't, Dana White's got to toss your tail. That's it. Boxing doesn't have to deal with that. They could deal with, whoever my fiefdom is at that time. I'm going to keep it in-house where you have top-ranked fighters fighting top-ranked fighters. You have PBC fighters fighting PBC fighters. Even though I will say this, and what we're seeing more of, and we saw that very recently with Spence and Crawford. I mean, I know Heyman gets a bit of a knock with PBC fighters fighting PBC fighters, but he's allowed his guys the freedom. For Stephen Fulton's another example. If my fighter has a chance, and this I'll give credit to Heyman with this, his fighters have a chance to make a buck. Don't matter who they're fighting or what promotional banner they're fighting under. I got a chance. Stephen Fulton was going to make a career high payday fighting Inoue, who is promoted by Top Rank. So if that fight could be made, go for it, bud. All power to you. But regrettably, you have a lot of people that get in the way of that sometimes, and it leads to the business that we're dealing with right now. I mean, and getting way back with Jake Paul, I will say this. He brings attention to the sport to younger people, and hopefully, if he's drawing some people in, who's to say, he's drawing 25 people in, who's to say maybe 5 or 6 of them start to delve in, well, I like this sport, let me see about this guy, or let me see about that guy. The other thing I like about Jake Paul is he's brought up the disparity sometimes and how guys are getting paid, and I think that is huge. So him and the platform he has and speaking up for these guys and the monies that they should be making, I think is helpful to the sport. And people don't want to hear that, especially, maybe from someone like me, but I think it's good.
So Jake Paul, for example, a kid that started on Vine, went to Disney, and then started doing, content, became a content creator and whatnot, and eventually now he's, become he's been fighting celebrity boxing, doing all of those events. Mm-hmm. Are you surprised by how fast he entered the boxing world and took over? Or are you surprised at maybe his level of skill from just never growing up being in the boxing world necessarily, but then coming into it and being able to fight professional fighters, whether they're from the MMA or...
I give him credit from what I know and understand, I give him credit for his commitment. I give him credit. I mean, this guy is, and I saw it, and I hear it a number of times, how he has invested himself into, and again, you would know this, Matt. I mean, boxing is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, and kind of in a way, I hate to say it, covering it is a bit of a lifestyle because you have to deal with different people, different personalities, and it's certainly a lifestyle if you're committed to it, because if you're not committed to it, you can be seriously hurt in boxing, and I've seen it twice, and it's twice too many, where tragic things have happened in the ring. Jake Paul prepares himself. He works very, very hard. My only thing with Jake Paul is, dude, you're a C-level fighter. Fight someone at a C level. Don't fight some of these jokers that are out there. People are going to still come and watch you fight. I mean, he lost to what? I think he lost to Tyson Fury's brother, right?
Might have, yes.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, he lost to Tyson Fury's brother, one fight prior to his most recent fight.
So. Sometimes I get confused with Logan Paul and Jake Paul. That's why. That's the only reason.
Yeah, Jake Paul didn't he just? I think he just beat Anderson Silva, and I think he just fought Anderson Silva and beat him. But I like the fact that he's gaining some young attention to the sport, and hopefully again, if that spins off to some of these younger people taking a interest in it, that to me is a plus. And again, he brings attention to the sport. Because the thing I like about Jake Paul is he'll talk, obviously he's going to talk about himself, but he'll also bring up every once in a while just how these guys should be paid, and he'll bring up maybe a fighter here or a fighter there, and what he likes to see. And what's that do is that brings awareness to a higher platform, and that higher platform brings awareness to a larger audience. So and anything that gives attention to the sport of boxing is good.
So if you had a chance to interview Jake Paul and talk about his story, write about his story, about coming into the boxing world, would you accept that opportunity?
Oh my God, yeah, in a heartbeat. I tried to reach out to him a few times. Now he's promoting Serrano. Amanda Serrano was part of our first ever, the BWA, the Boxing Writers Association. We just named our first female fight of the year for the first time ever in the history of the organization. Serrano was part of that. She is promoted by Jake Paul. I tried to reach out to Jake, but I got one of Jake's top people. So at least there's some dialogue there. And I'd love to have Jake Paul at one of our BWA awards dinners. If he's around in New York sometime in March or April of 2024, I'd love to have Jake Paul there.
So Jake Paul, if you're out there, if you watch this and you're listening,
yeah,
Joe Santoliquito wants to invite you to the
president of the BWA. Yeah.
The president of the Boxing Writers Association wants to invite you.
Boxing Writers Association of America.
Yeah. Wants to invite you to the dinner.
Yes, to our awards dinner next year.
Awards dinner. So if you're watching out there, take note.